All right, this is a deck tech and gameplay video for the final Gladiator event before Final Fantasy releases, and we get our ban announcement. Uh, this is the evening event, or the Thursday event for June 5th, 2025. Sword and Sandals Showdown, week 23 a.m. It's a 3-round event. I don't have. I only pressed the record button in before game 3 of round 1, but I have all the other games. So you missed me losing a game and me winning a game against my first round opponent, but I have the deciding game. And for this last event, before presumably Guide Pride gets banned, or whatever gets banned, I decided to suit up Blue Light Control, even though yesterday I went 3-0 with the Abzan, the Moist Abzan Splash Blue deck. Because I like that deck. I wanted to get one more win with Guide Pride before it goes away, if I could. And I did that. So then I was just like, let me just play Blue Light Control. I really like Blue Light Control's spot in the metagame currently, the tournament metagame, because I feel much safer against the combo and other control decks. I just feel more comfortable with this. On the Friday event, I played a more messy control deck that's 4-color and was going all in on divinations, going so far as to play Quick Study because I just wanted to push it as far as I could. And I had some, you have some mana problems when you play a deck like this, and I also just had some slow play problems. So that's sort of also motivating me that I just need to get some more reps with control, because I just haven't been playing it as much recently. There was a while back in the last year where I was playing a lot of control. I just haven't been playing it as much recently, and I've been enjoying getting back to it here and there, but I've not been getting enough reps where I'm playing fast enough for my liking. I've been thinking, deliberating, and some of that is trying to make correct choices because I'm learning, and learning is a big part of the fun for me, and these events are fun to address the losing it at me slow playing one of my matches because I just decided I was just going to play it out. Because I thought that was more useful to me long term, was to play to win, not to play to the clock, or play the correct way rather than play to the clock. Because I didn't think I was going to win anyway, even if I played to the clock. I was pretty screwed after game 1. I took too long. Anyway. So the reason I like where control is currently are board wipes are very good because because the builds of Abzan are not all in on the graveyard. Abzan in general has kind of vanished. Like it's not nearly. Most of its pilots have abandoned it. One of its pilots has been sort of on and off it, looking for spots. Because I think it's still an extremely strong deck if you can, find the right hole. But I don't really want to play it into combo, and I don't really want to play it into control. My build, I felt good about versing similar decks like the mirror, but that's where it was. And the thing I like, so these wraths are good, and mono red has not felt super. It's not at its best. say. Um, it doesn't feel like you're just dying all the time if you're prepared for mono red, which I always try to be. My main things when I'm building a deck like this, a blue-white control deck, is beating mono red and having and then cards that give me the resources to win a long game. Like either the mirror or grindy mid-range matchup. But primarily, my starting point is, can I beat the fastest decks in the format that theoretically can kill you on turn 3? I guess a combo deck could kill you on turn 1, but that's unlikely. And we're playing Spell Pierce or whatever. Just have some of those spot removals, and then have these running wraths, because it's not the first wrath that gets you there. It's like the third wrath, where your opponent's like just out of stuff, even if they're holding back. So we go hard on the wraths. We got Day of Judgment, we've got Settle the Wreckage, we've got Wrath of God, we've got Supreme Verdict, we've got Spectacular Pile Up, we've got Sunfall, we've got Farewell, and we have other big removal spells like River Regent or whatever, and Solitude, Fractured Identity, all the good things. But the other thing is to beat the combo decks. I wanted to go back up on 3-mana counter spells, and not specifically because they're 3 mana, but counter spells that actually counter the spell, not just reprieves, memory lapse, remands, no more lies, like these conditional counter spells. Because without mana drain, the deck has felt much more dominated by these conditional counter spells, and like the 1-mana ones like Spell Snare and Stern Scolding, Spell Pierce. I love mana size. I will always play Jawari Disruption because I like having a spell that is a land. Shoves under Chrome Mox very well too. But I these combo decks that are out there, I want the hard permission. So you stay on Absorb. Absorb is great. That 3 life can really matter against mono red. Render Silent, I've been very pleased with. You just your opponent tries to play a bait spell, and you just say, okay, but I'm gonna get another turn. I'm gonna get my extra Teferi draw or whatever. You don't get to double spell me. And Disallow, I've been very happy playing Disallow and Stifle, because one of the ways you lose I've been losing as the control deck are to triggered abilities like Priest of Felrites or whatever. And just having the tools to stop that stuff, it means you're more likely to win when you have all the resources. There were cases where you could have all the resources in the world, and you'd still lose to a triggered ability, an activated ability or whatever. And this just makes it better. Also, a card like Pool Resources, I really like. Going along with these 3-mana counter spells, just like having more things that refill your hand. And stock up's really like because the things you need are you want a Wrath, and then you need stuff. So cards that give you 2 cards, that's huge. Because you need to be hitting your land drops as blue-white control. You always want to keep your number of lands going up for your end game when you eventually get Shadow of the Second Sun or whatever. And so that you can, wrath the board and have counter magic backup or whatever. Like you need stuff. You need to start. The way you win is you just start accumulating more stuff after you've stopped yourself from dying. So it's don't die, get stuff. Everything's about supporting that. And having played messed around with some other decks that were low on cantrips, I wanted to be back on cantrips. And if you're on cantrips, you have so many fewer deck slots that I don't feel the need for a third color. Though you could splash red for the thing I would splash red for primarily, if you weren't afraid of Winter Moon or Blood Moon even a little bit, is Roaring Furnace. This is an easy include with some Surveil lands and stuff. If you're looking to do that. But also I was thinking of, you could go one of the things I'm thinking about are other blue-white decks or blue-red decks that are on Winter Moon. And I would rather be not on Winter Moon, but also not be afraid of Winter Moon. So that I'm just making that card probably bad for them. Just making that one card bad. I think I can get away with everything else. I like how the deck's positioned. I find Winter Moon a sometimes frustrating card to have. I would rather not be in a position to lose to it, but also not have to run it myself. Because I want to generate lots of mana, even if I do have some number of, a lot of basics. I'd rather have all my lands access to at all times. I don't know. There are fine arguments that those things are worth playing, but if I'm playing Winter Moon, I'd rather be on blue red so I can play Blood Moon. I'd rather have the full redundancy than playing the half steps that I'm less likely to draw in this version. That's just me. We don't have a lot of win conditions. Cunning Urger Scale and Meringue Regent are pretty good ones because I like these cards because the Omen side, they're castable spells before they're late game finishers. I've used to be on Horned Locked Whale, but I've gotten really sick of it. The fact that the creature you can't do it till the creature's attacking you, that timing restriction is really bad, and it gives players a lot of room to play around your spell, and if they have any kind of their own, if they're a tempo deck, it can be very rough. Condemn is at least only 1 mana. Doing this for 2 is pretty bad, and I just like. So these cards have kind of. If I'm playing, so I've kind of just cut this, but these cards, they're card advantage or this is card advantage. This one is the thing about Cunning Azure Scale that I like is if you need a land, it'll get you a land. And sometimes you just need a land. Sometimes what you need is a land. So, I specifically stopped running Seek New Knowledge because Seek New Knowledge never gets you a land. And one of the things you desperately need, when you need non-land spells, you need non-land spells. But when you need a land, you need a land. That's why the 1 mana cantrips are so good. To keep you, to filter you properly through the early game till you establish a Palantir or whatever. But yeah, I think that's enough intro. I'm very low on creatures and threats. Very low. So I'm also sort of trying to blank in a format where it feels like you have to play a ton of removal. I'm trying to blank as much of my opponent's removal as possible. So if I play one more, I don't have a density of creatures where playing what like Ledger Shredder is good, because Ledger Shredder's just gonna die to Fatal Push or whatever, like just instantly. Tameo's good enough to justify it. Snapcaster, good enough to justify it to me. But other than that, I'm here to wrath the board over and over and over again. That is my goal. I need cards that will get me to more wraths, and then I need wraths. The most frustrating part about playing a deck like this is filling your deck with wraths and then not being able to get to a Wrath of God. Like having a game where you die because you couldn't find a wrath. That's what I don't want. And that's why I'm playing so many. But you know, you don't want to play too many, because if you're up against a combo deck or another control deck, they're terrible. Your deck is now full of all these useless cards. Search for Azcanta at All-Star Magic the Gathering card. I'm going to win a lot of games this event by having a early search for Azcanta, and just developing that puts me in a good spot. So let's get to the games. All right, so as I said, this is game 3 of round 1. Me and Jokes have both won a game. And Jokes is on Bant. So we got a Chrome Mox start for Joix, and this is going to be why Chrome Mox, this is going to be a demonstration and maybe why Chrome Mox isn't the best. Because this is an explosive kind of start, getting ahead, but Joix only has 2 cards in hand. Down on resources. So if I can clean up this Fiend Artisan, I'm pretty ahead. I'm in a pretty good spot. I do not have double blue, which is currently a problem. This Deathrite is kind of annoying because I do have stuff I want to do with my graveyard, but ooh, so I think about the Razor Growth Scavengers. I decided not to use it because I want to make sure I have the land drop. I end up just using my Condemn, and now I'm going to Brainstorm open for land. And I find land. So we're feeling pretty great here. Now I'm thinking about this Deathrite, and I'm thinking about this Chrome Mox. The Deathrite I'm a little less worried about because I am going to wipe the board at some point, is my intention. This Misty Rainforest is going to get rid of this land on top of my deck, so that I'll be in the market for a board wipe. And Jokes only own 1 land currently, so I just I could have stifled that. Yeah, I thought about it, but I did not pull the trigger. And now I'm glad I did, because now, well, you know, now I'm just gonna counter this. And now I'm going to pull the trigger on this March, even though I'm not sure it's correct, but this is just a play to use my mana efficiently. I'm not going to... I'm going to establish this Narset if I don't find a board wipe. So I know I'm not casting March this turn. This Narset is a threat that now needs to be answered, so... I've got a 7 loyalty planeswalker looking down at the barrel of a 1/1. I'm feeling pretty good. Now, if I hadn't got rid of that Chrome Mox, this could have been a 2-drop. So... Instead, it's Ocelot Pride. So I could crack this to look at a Surveil land before I use my Narset, but I decide I'd rather see this card, then, if it's not a spell, shuffle it away, and then use the Surveil for my draw for next turn. I could animate my land to block, but if there's a removal spell, then I would lose a land. I'm just going to Razor Grass Ambush Ocelot Pride. And since I don't have a board wipe, I really don't want the Ocelot Pride to start pumping out cats. So in this matchup, I was thinking about it. I'm only going to ult the Nissa if I'm also not losing the Nissa, because it's so shutting out the non-creature spells. Actually, not what I'm super worried about out of Joix. But again, I feel like I'm in a very good position. I am gonna stifle this so I can get my Mystic Sanctuary, get myself on a counterspell.
A better world begins with a better self.
Now I could have gotten a draw card, but I decided, how do I lose this game? I lose it to a threat that's actually scary. So let's just lower the possibility of that. And I'm willing to hold up this Long Reverse Pull because I'm not super interested in ulting my Nissa. So if the Deathrite attacks it, that's fine. I will take the one turn off. This I'm going to think about, but ultimately I'm not scared of this Giver of Runes. I'm looking to wipe the board.
Knowing is most of the battle.
Unable to Scream answers this Giver of Runes for now, so I don't have to think about it anymore. Again, and here I'm like pretty convinced. So this is a mistake. I needed to crack the Arid Mesa first so that it was a land, so that I could tap my mana in a way that left up double blue. Because my Shockland is already in play, so this Arid Mesa can't find an untapped can't find a blue source at all. So I get a little blown out by this Solitude. I was about to say Auto Tapper, but it's not Auto Tapper. I needed to crack my fetch land first. And like, Jox can see the Long River's pull in my hand, so that's not hidden information. I just screwed up there. But I don't. It's not gonna matter if I can find a board wipe. And there's a board wipe.
Free your mind.
I'm not interested in locking out non-creature spells. It doesn't actually matter. I'm gonna pop off this Fractured Identity because I'm just not scared of anything at this point. Whatever is gonna come down for 4 mana. Technically, that's leaving a window, but against that deck, I wasn't worried. Alright, now we got a game against Boggle Lizard. So I'm thinking about what to bottom here. I'm tempted to keep the Farewell, because I do eventually want to get there, but I'm going to eventually decide it's the right thing to bottom. I want every resource I can to get me to the Shadow of the Second Sun, is where I want to be. And Boggle Lizard is on a Grixis deck that is playing some counter spells, but it's the low number of mostly conditional counter spells. Plus, because he's on red, invert polarity. So I'm very conscious about the possibility of invert polarity getting me in this game. That was the thing. Looking over the list beforehand, I put into my head of watching for when Boggle Lizard is holding up double blue red. Ragamon's pretty annoying. Looking for a removal spell. I found one, which is pretty sick. Now I still don't have a way to answer this Jace, but and I kind of want all my cards is the problem. Even though I have this search for Escanta incentivizes me to want to just put things on top of my library that I want to bin. But I actually want all my cards. So I probably should have put Lorien Revealed and binned that, but now Sheoldred can kill me very fast if I can't resolve this settle an attack or whatever. I really want to land, but because I want to be able to spell pierce and settle, but yeah, that was to get to 7 to get my Escanta to flip. So I get my land drop parentheses off my search for Escanta flipping. I don't have an actual land drop. But here in this position, that's fine. Well, if I had had the land drop, it would have been better. Because then I could have just cast Shadow of the Second Sun. So my plan is to cast this Wandering Emperor, and it resolves.
Run away. You'll be safer. You are not much of a roadblock.
Fury, also kind of scary. This thing can kill me very quickly, but now I have Shadow of the Second Sun resolving with my opponent tapped out. I have this Settle the Wreckage in my hand. And I at least have a Spell Pierce, and I have Escanta land side along with Shadow, which is absurd. And will get me the cards I need to get to the end of this match. Now, there's a world where I could have taken the 6, but why take that risk? We get a very juicy Spell Pierce target here.
Resist a good riddle.
And Boglizard is just going to make a mistake here by -3. You have to pay mana for your Jace, unfortunately, for them. For him. These are both tempting. Counterspell would have been safer, but Fractured Identity, that's fun. And it answers this Jace. But really, I should have probably just taken the counterspell. But, you know, there is also, I think there's an argument too. This Fractured Identity is now revealed. My opponent knows that I have this stupid thing. And thus they are incentivized to not cast their spells, which is also just great for me. I'm in a can't lose position here. I'm a little worried about invert polarity, which is why I don't go off with this Memory Deluge. I'm trying to avoid the blowout because I think if I just play it safe, I'm probably gonna win. I don't need to be aggressive and push things here. Now, that is a strike against my clock. I'm not finished winning this game anytime soon.
At least I look like I know what I'm doing.
Playing this way. I've at least played quickly. I have 2 stops. So now I decide if it gets hit there. So be it. My opponent isn't super incentivized to invert polarity there because I have all that open mana. I'm thinking about how greedy can I be. I decide for all the greed. What I'm looking for is an actual hard counter spell, because despite having all these cards, I don't actually have counter magic currently. I decide I want this absorb in my hand. Thinking about dig through time. I decided to go for dig through time. Again, greed. Also, this is a mistake. This Orcish Bowmaster is coming down during my main phase. This is not my end step. So I'm going to be able to cast Unable to Scream. Unfortunately for my opponent. Not that it really matters, but because Shadow doesn't trigger Bowmaster, it counts as your first draw gun. I decide I have enough Wraths. I can get rid of one. I'm playing so greedy here.
What a refreshing.
I decide this is one card. I can answer one card. Do I care about this Liliana?
This is my home, and I don't appreciate it when people touch my things. I'm calling the shots here.
I don't want to get my dig through time, even though I'm like really sure. I don't really think my opponent necessarily has infinite polarity, but I don't dig. I don't expose my dig so easily. Now I have hard permission. I go for a bigger spell. My opponent is searching for something.
You failed to entertain me. Happy to help, but I'm
Now I can attack with my 1/1 Solitude.
I'm not finished with you yet.
My opponent's tapped out. I can cast this Narset. I think I attack first.
Curious.
Then I establish my Narset.
My prowess is unmatched by my people. Focus the mind, free the fist.
I'm just a big dragon hoarding stuff. Building my pillow fort.
I love learning.
I'm in no hurry, except checking my clock. I've got plenty of time. Still got 21 minutes to finish this and play another game. Plenty of time. I decided to fight over this Dreadbore. And I'm starting out with the greedy play of making a copy of my Solitude so I can start ending this game. And here comes the invert polarity. Now, I have an answer for it, but I do not have a second answer for it. My opponent had another piece of counter magic. But, as I said, my opponent's deck is not super heavy on counter spells. It's likely that they, can get to a counter spell at a time, but it's less likely that they're getting to 3 counter spells at once. I'll do other stuff. Because my opponent is playing threats. I play the island first so I can hold up Spell Pierce the full time and not think about Kraken for the Surveil land on this turn. I think about reprieving this, but then my opponent could just play it again. I'm not super scared. There's nothing in the graveyard for this Emperor Bones to reanimate currently. I'm not. I feel like I still have time. I'm going to Surveil. Now, I feel like I have time, but I don't need counter magic. I need something to answer the board. But I do have this Aganjo. My opponent resolves the Shield Red. The Shield Red. Kind of punishing my play. So I'm like super in the need for a board wipe now. So I probably should have let the Emperor Bones just hit me and then held up and kept reprieved held up in this game. Found an answer to Shieldred. I gotta get that thing. I gotta get that thing out of here. Or I am dead. Now I am at 5, so I'm in a pretty precarious position anyway. This Ragavan's gonna make my life a nightmare. I'm dead to Lightning Bolt. Which is really where I start to get worried. And I have to answer this graveyard trespasser. This one's gotten away from me. I am super dead. Now, the funny thing is, I tapped my mana wrong here. The way I get out of this are 2 1-mana white removal spells. I need to tap both these islands. But I get punished, and I see Condemn Swords, and then realize I cannot cast both of these. Being able to cast both of these would save my life, but I am not in a position to cast both of these. I've already played my land. In taking the land, I would be dead anyway. Even in a tutor deck, I have my mana. I've hosed myself by not playing properly to my outs. Now, if I'd seen Unable to Scream or whatever, what's that toy? The blue enchantment that turns it into an O2. If I'd seen that instead of, swords, then I would have won. But I should just be conceding here. I'm wasting clock. Because I'm super dead. Now we're back on the play, though. Feel much better against decks with creatures on the play. It makes a big difference in this matchup. I'll note this mana is not great, but I do have 3 lands. I have a stock up. I have 2 removal spells, even though I have this counter spell that I can't cast. I'm not cracking my Prismatic Vista yet because I don't know what color of mana I'm going to need the most. Presumably I'm going to need white at some point to cast any of these removal spells, but I also need double blue for this absorb. So my hope is to not have to answer anything and get to use this demolition field to use its ability to get me to an actual usable mana. Oh, I also might have just cast stock up, but that is now going to be off the table. So I can pass. Crack the Vista for planes. Use the Demolition Field ability to get an island, and then cast the Opt. Is the line that I'm gonna go with. If there isn't like a Lelia that I have to answer or whatever. Or Ragavan. And my opponent has grabbed this Triome that I now get to get rid of. Not really what these lands are in the deck for. These lands are in the deck to answer man lands, which can be extremely problematic for a Wrath of God deck. But you know. We're in a little bit of a pickle. Need some lands, and we have lands. We're low on white mana still, with all these spells that take white mana. But I've just seeing my opponent not being able to threaten me. They can't cast Invert Polarity because they only have 1 blue mana currently. So I decided to establish this Teferi. If it gets answered, then that's fine. That's a whole nother. I decided that I was okay with that. Was it wrong? Arguably. Maybe I should have at least cycled it, but I wanted the high mana in case he had a in case of a burn spell. This Murderous Rider's kind of annoying. It's like not a scary enough threat that I desperately need to answer it, but also I kind of just want to maintain my life total. I have all this removal, but I take the 2 here. My opponent has, you know, full open mana. I don't want to play into that. And here I'm just going to absorb this Chandra. Back at 20. I'm starting to really feel the burn on only having the 1 white source currently. Looking at Snapcaster targets. I decide this gets a counterspell because I don't want to have to discard to the ward. Use a regular removal spell on that creature. Thinking about what I want to try and establish. I decided to go just get this Narset established.
The past, present, I've prepared this for you.
But I wasn't paying enough attention, and now this Hall of the Storm Giants is a problem. Because I only had the 1 white source, so my Narset is now dead. Kind of thrown away.
I concede.
Now I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait for my opponent to suit up their Hulled Storm Giants again. And I'm going to march Otherworldly Light. I could wait for Condemn. I could condemn it, but I go with March. Don't give them the life. I decide Condemn is more useful in against one of these hasty threats, like Aurelia. I've got a Dovin's Veto target. I'm gonna chomp chomp chomp. Again, I could dig through time, but I'm worried about invert polarity. I'm also thinking about what things can I do with Snapcaster Mage. So I'm just gonna dig through time because now I've got Snapcaster backup. And it resolves. Now the world is my oyster. I want all these cards. Search is the one that's going to give me... I decide I want to answer this death right now so that my search can have an easier time flipping. And I leave myself open for a turn. But I at least have this Condemn. Graveyard Trespasser is annoying because it means I need some other card to discard to this ward cost. But now I have a flipped as Kanta. I'm looking at my Snapcaster targets. I'm thinking about the chances of invert polarity. But I go for it. And I get stern scolding. I decide to take this Wrath of God so that I have a cleaner answer to this Graveyard Trespasser that doesn't involve me going down a card to answer it. And I'm going to be willing to let it hit me in the face once. I've cast a spell for this turn, so it's not going to be a 4/4. And I don't have double blue to cast a counterspell. If I had taken the Long River's Pull, is part of the thinking. I've also sort of bungled the mana situation is also not good. I'm going to use this Field of Ruin to, you know, sick of this Field of Ruin making my mana bad. Arguably, I should hold on to it, but sort of trying to cut blue in this spot. Make it a little harder for counter magic. But mostly, I'm looking for this island. And I'm just going to try and clean Wrath of God this Graveyard Trespasser. I can use Fractured Identity and Condemn on things without board. Discard a card. And now I'm just looking to start amassing some resources. Authority is very good here. I think I'm gonna cash this in for Surveil trigger. Because once I get authority established, now I'm not scared about hasty threats. I can play a little looser. So I'm just going to condemn this 1/1 and continue to draw cards. Or I'll disallow something if something is scary. Oh, this Ashiok. This is a, I think about countering it. But, this is a juicy Fractured Identity target with my opponent only having 2 mana and I have counter magic backup. I eventually get to the correct play. Palantir is just cherry on top. Alright, this is my Ashiok now. Now I can use the minus ability, get rid of this 2/3, and he has to discard a card. Exile a card, and I get to hold counter magic. No reason to play Palantir here. Safer just to hold disallow. I decide to defend my Ashiok. And here's where the invert polarity happens, but this is a great... I'm thrilled. Thrilled to see invert polarity in a way that doesn't... It doesn't matter if the flip went for my opponent. There was no chance of me getting goozled. That memory lapse was very aggressive. But I'm feeling good. This Grixis is going to cost me life, but it's not going to hurt me on cards. And my opponent does not have the red mana necessary to get it back. I have this stupid thing in my head where 3 moves ahead, that copies an artifact, like Palantir, forgetting that Palantir is legendary. So I'm much more excited about this 3 moves ahead than I should be. It's just a counterspell, which is fine. Getting the 9-minute warning, but we're well into game 3. I do need to figure out a way to win this game, but I get to Shadow with 3 steps backup and Spellslayer backup. So it's not... I get this. I Spellslayer the Sprayed. Sink into Stupor can just, you know, hit whatever. At this point, this game is not super complicated. It's just about executing the turns to get there. Again, I'm going to do a stupid thing and copy my Palantir, which is pointless. Oops. Let's just keep looking at cards. Mana Tithe kind of doesn't do anything. Draw the Sink. Play this to Fairy.
Isn't a fight. Hurry.
Play this 6/7. Watch this 6/7 die. But now my opponent's getting low enough that my Hall of the Storm Giants Swamp can finish the task. Let's just spin. Let's see what other answers we can find. Oh, the murderous rider, though. This will get swift synced to the store. Oh, and a memory lapse. Beautiful. Beautiful. Opponent's super tapped out. I know the one card in hand. I actually fuck up here. I should also cast Wandering Emperor and give this a +1/+1 counter so that it is lethal. That is a missing lethal. But I do get to try and cast this Lorien Revealed. And then my opponent concedes. Alright, we're in match 3 up against Maximum Berry on Mono Red. So, this is the deck that I most like don't want to lose to, because I feel like if I lose to this deck, then I screwed up. Because my starting point is be able to beat this deck. I've strayed too far into things that are not beating this deck if I lose to this deck. Authority of the Councils, exactly what I want to see. The other thing I would like to see is a second blue source, which this Fabled Passage will be. Waiting for actual end of turn. Get this tapped island. And now we have resources. I could hold Long River's Pull, but I decided to stock up. Looking for a board wipe or something to get me to a board wipe. Search is pretty slow. And search and dig are not exactly synergy, but search can also help feed towards dig. The little bit of card selection I can still get out of search is also still fine. Those cards, Search for Skanta, just really good. Just always a thing I want to have in play. I'm going to play Search, and now I can crack this Arid Mesa for a shock land and counter something. Like this Cunning Coyote. Now I am taking 3 damage to counter what is effectively 3 damage. But so I don't love that, but I am also filling my graveyard, which is actually the more important thing currently. Because ideally, I could flip this search, then resolve the dig through time. Rather than drain my graveyard first. And you know, 2 2/2s. Well, a 2/3 and a 2/2. I don't feel so pressured that I have to take any particular line. I'm going to demolition field this manland. I think about doing it now, but that gives the red mana pre-combat, so I decide to let it attack first. So that Maximum Barrier gets this untapped red second main and can't deploy some other hasty 3-mana threat. And I'm going to kill this Soul Scar Mage that has the potential to grow. I'm a little, that is giving my opponent a blue token. Not thrilled about that. I am thrilled about is this Wrath of God to answer this Screaming Nemesis. Delightful. Perfect. Now we can dig through time. Everything's coming up great. Roaring Furnace is a little annoying. We'll need to answer that. I don't have, like... Since, you know, my deck does not have an ability to close the game very quickly, Roaring Furnace can add up. But that was a case where, you know, you do still have to spend mana to turn on its ability. And I did still get to gain a life. Jace is much better when I have authority on the field. This bounce ability is much more effective. Now, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to get a... Well, I think... What am I going to do? This is a case where... This is a dig where all these options look good to me. I take the Get Lost because I want to get lost this Vortex. Now I draw this Ossification, which I really like as an answer for this Ambergris. I still want to get rid of this Rolling Vortex, but I'm not in a hurry to. So I'm going to pass the turn with it still in play. Let my opponent take an extra damage. I am going to realize that leaving it in play longer is also going to cut me off on life gain. This is what's ultimately going on. All right, I got to get rid of this thing. But again, I'm not in a hurry. I think about Wandering... I'm going to think about Wandering Emperor, and then I'm going to decide to just slow play this and take the Escanta draw. I decide if my opponent's going to deploy more threats, I want the life gain. And I kind of screwed that up. I give my opponent a little too many looks at these with these maps. Unnecessary. I should have just used the Wandering Emperor to kill this Falcon Wrath. Or to get this Falcon Wrath off the board last turn. On my turn. I didn't really gain anything by holding back here. On the other hand, my opponent used those maps on a creature that I know is going to go away. I'm again, maybe misplays, but also
Until
I'm in a
next
pretty
time, then.
good position. Here. Now I'm not going to be able to win this 2-life, which is a pisser, but like if my opponent is playing 1 mana 2/1s, I'm not, that are gaining me a life. I'm not super worried. So I feel comfortable cracking this Marsh Flats for a potential extra draw at some point. I'm gonna play this Jace, and I'm gonna brainstorm, see what I get. This is not a draw or disruption situation. I'm gonna put Spectacular Pile Up on top. And I'm gonna skip for here. I'm feeling that safe that I can just do that. Now I'm gonna cast Spectacular Pile Up. The running board wipes, that's what gets them. Let's brainstorm again. We've got another brain wipe. Put this draw disruption on top if I Escanta and really see nothing. I'm really looking to search past these cards. But if there's really nothing, I can just draw the draw disruptions. No big deal. But I found a disallow. And now I'm into... You know what? I've got enough a card advantage. Let's, I decide... I think... Nope. I decide to Day of Judgment. I don't know why I don't want to Unable to Scream. I'm like afraid of enchantment removal out of mono red. Wow, I pass up the absorb because I have the disallow. Get rid of that raptor. That could be 2 cards.
No! I'm late for class!
No more lives is pretty bad, but... And my opponent eventually concedes. Which is good for me. Saves me clock. This hand has no white mana and only 2 lands. So I will mulligan. It does have turn 1 removal, but it has only 1 castable spell. This hand has 3 lands and a Day of Judgment and a bunch of card draw. Maybe I should have kept Sock up. And I don't think I needed the sleight of hand. But I draw a Chromox, and I decide to go in on Chromox. Now I really wish I had. I guess I really wish I had Stalker. But sleight of hand I'm just putting under this Chromox. Now I can hold up no more lies, and I can Day of Judgment turn 3 if I need to. I just thought Hard Claw is just annoying enough. This Ragavan's gonna get to hit me once, but Blue White Control is a deck where I'm not actually... Like, Ragavan's annoying because it deals me damage. And this Cunning Coyote is very annoying. It's dealing me a lot of damage. But I'm not, at least not afraid of the things Ragavan is going to steal from the top of my deck. The scary threats are generally going to be too much mana. Are going to be too much mana for my opponent to cast them turn 1. Unless it's like Tameo. Tameo is like the one really... the hit that can really screw me. So I get to turn 3 Wrath, Day of Judgment. My opponent only has 1 card in hand. I have the Snapcaster Mage. Eidolon, a little scary. But I have this answer. I will eat this 3 damage. Now we are below 10. And we are effectively at 8, because I am going to have to crack this fetch land. With my opponent having a Mutavault in play. So, I'm in a position where I am gonna be fucking dead. Like, I'm taking too much. There are too many threats. This Faceless Haven, if my opponent gets another snow-covered mountain, is a problem. I can, Day of Judgment. But now I'm dead. My opponent can animate Faceless Haven and Mutavault and simply kill me. So, things that happen in that game, I probably needed to keep the stock up. Because I got really long cards anyway, regardless. And the mainlands just got me. I got low enough. I was just in a bad spot. Gonna grab a Hallowed Fountain so I can cast this Lay Down Arms on this wizard. And now I have Consider or Spell Pierce. Gonna get hit by this Monastery Swiftspear. And I'm going to Spell Pierce this Light of the Sage. Although now I'm in a position where I've missed my land drop. I decided to consider first so that I know if I have my land drop. It doesn't really matter.
Nothing like warm tea and a fascinating story.
I could block, but I would rather flip I have this Brain Surge to flip this Tameo. Now, this is an interesting spot. Because the likelihood... I'm trying to be way too cute with this Brain Surge. I really want to... I should just Brain Surge. I'm still in combat, so I can't play this land yet. Let's play my land. I decide I'm gonna Brain Surge at instant speed. I don't know why. It still just leaves my Tameo very exposed. But my thinking was the likelihood of it getting directly attacked and dying immediately was very likely. If my opponent has a burn spell to answer it off this Brain Surge, so be it. At least I got to Brain. At least I'm going to Wrath of God next turn anyway. Now my opponent can cast a shock to kill my Tameo. It's less than ideal. But, you know, that's one card out of my opponent's hand.
To learn elsewhere.
Those all matter in this matchup. Let's take the easy 2 for 1. Now, neither of these planeswalkers are very good here. Bomat Courier, not scary. Only 1 damage coming out of this thing. This is a sign of weakness. Don't need a Chrome Mox. Snapcaster Mage has me thinking. And what it has me thinking is... what am I doing? I think I should have cast it there. I think if I had cast a fairy and then I could hold up Snapcaster and lay down arms, I would be in a much better position. I would say playing Jace there was a mistake. And now I'm feeling like I could die. I'm looking at what spells can you get back. Has no untapped mana to cast any of them anyway, but this drawing 3 cards thing didn't have to happen. That's pretty bad on my part. I'm thinking of saving my Jace, but I decided the Snapcaster is more valuable. And then I'm just going to crack this clue. But I did not think about the fact that I am just drawing these lands that I put on top of my library. I'm thinking full greed here. But I am... cooler heads prevail, and I do just Sunfall. As much as I wanted to Teferi Sunfall at instant speed. Now I have a 3/3 blocker. My opponent has to tap out to use his manland, if that's what he's going to do. Kellen. A 1 mana 2/1. Not super scary. I could have just gotten a planes and cracked and are animated this incubate token so that it was in play, but I chose not to. What I'm going to do is plus Teferi, and then Snapcaster into a removal spell or whatever. I put it as investing all this mana into this Kellen, which is an easy to answer threat by me currently. I will now answer it. You know, I could grab Brain Surge and then just chump block, but I decide to just that the double strike is scary enough. That I will just answer it and figure out something else. Figure out what I'm doing next later. Because I am kind of out of stuff now. Inti. Inti is still blocked by a 3/3, is where my head is at. Like it does provide potential value. But now I can hold up instant speed farewell. My eyes are wide.
Might be a bad idea.
Opponent decides to spin the Inti wheel. That is a miss. That is not a removal spell for this incubator. So I'll just trade. Now I can use my lands for advantage, starting with this gate to the Citadel. No need to crack this fetch land. So I do want to hold up this farewell, but I can cast Narset and do that. Oh no, I can't. I'm 1 mana off, so I do not do that. Yeah. I can stock up. I can have stock up and farewell held up at instant speed. I can stock up and then maybe get a counter spell or whatever. If I just need to farewell, I can farewell and draw some cards. Alright, so my opponent casting Burst Lightning, so let's start with a stock up. Instant speed stock up, as it was always intended to be. Shadow of the Second Sun, that wins me the game. Path to Exile, this solves this land problem in front of me. Don't really care about the Snapcaster Mage, but I will get rid of this land creature. Before it can make a 1/1. And we'll let Soul Spring happen, and now I'm going to use Castle Vantress to scry 2. And now I have Shadow of the Second Sun and Teferi Time Raveler. Absurd position to be in.
I'll protect you.
Yeah, I'll pass. I could sleight a hand. Okay. Let's sleight of hand. Ooh, prismatic ending. Lightning bolt. Okay, okay. Put me to 2. My opponent has no cards in hand, so I will clear the board here.
Here we go.
Now I will... So what I want is counter magic. Now we're set into this as well. Sorry. I want to put pressure so that my opponent is not going to see that many more cards before this game is over. But I do not have a hard counterspell with which to not lose the game. So let's scry. These are lands I don't want.
No, I am not making this up as I go.
Just looking for that counterspell. And then I can start attacking.
Plan.
That's a counterspell.
Succeed.
That's another counterspell. Now I'm feeling pretty good. This I am not scared of. That is not a creature. That would kill me. I do have counter magic for it, though. And I decide this raptor is as good as any target. So we're going to fire off the Fractured Identity. Start trying to end this game. Because I have the thing I was looking for. I put this stock up on top. I get to draw this stock up.
I have a plan.
Knowing
I
is
get to
most of the battle.
Make this 7/7 and attack for 9. Attacking too much. You know, and now I have so many ways to not die despite being at 2. I do decide I should have discarded No More Lies, but I decided maybe I have. If I'm discarding to hand size, maybe I don't need stock up. This is a No More Lies target if I've ever seen one, and we get the good game. Yeah, so not perfect play, but we got there. The deck was good enough to carry me, and good enough in the matchups that I saw. If we didn't see combo, well, yeah, I'm excited for the format shakeup. Excited for Final Fantasy. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. I'm a big Final Fantasy VII fan. The rest of Final Fantasy, it's okay. I like 6. Yeah. No more. I do not expect any Guide of Souls in the format anymore. Peace.